We're back. Alright, I actually took a couple days off in recording this, but because it's so far ahead for me recording this, nobody's gonna know, but I'm gonna just let you know that anyway. We're about to do Long Day, and then we'll round it out next time at Sandcastle, and then let me rephrase that. We'll do Sandcastle next in the summer. Actually, we'll just do Sandcastle next, and then when we come back, we'll end the summer and go from there. Because that seems like the best way to do it. In the meantime, let's start on Long Day. It was another scorching summer day, the kind where no sooner had you finished one cup of water, you were already filling it up again. Oh, those are the worst kind of heats. Everyone else had something on, so that afternoon it was just you and Shiloh. This didn't happen much, especially since Cove had arrived. Shiloh is the kid in the pachetas, or the little hat. He's your sister's friend, Lizzie. Without Lizzie around, Shiloh looked at you for all the answers. It made you feel pleased, frustrated. I feel like if I had a sibling and their friend was always hanging around because they're busy, I feel like I wouldn't feel anything. Just, alright, you're here. Shiloh went along with whatever you wanted, so he wasn't a bother, but he also wasn't that much fun. You drained yet another drink and frowned at the empty vessel. Your thirst was gone, but you still craved something icy cold and refreshing. Something sweet, something like a popsicle, an ice cream cone, an ice cream sandwich. Oh my god, ice cream sandwiches are to die for. Because you can be real fancy and just hold one pinky up while you're eating it. And then, well, the whore in me says popsicles are an entirely different enticement. So, and ice cream cones are just so messy. But also, like, the fact that the cone, you can push the ice cream down into it and, like, make it taste better. No, I like sandwiches. You craved soft ice cream sandwiched between two cookies. Ooh, those are the best kind of ice cream sandwiches. There was nothing like that to be found at home. You knew that without needing to look. Your moms didn't keep sweets in the house. Hey, Mom, why don't we keep sweets in the house? Why do you deprive me of sweet things? Inside, there were plenty of places where such goodies could be obtained, but there were shops Wow, I read that wrong. The word goodies could be obtained, but they were shops and demanded payment in exchange for their products. Ooh. You sighed, you voiced your predicament aloud, you asked Shiloh for help. Let's just put this to a group discussion. I want an ice cream sandwich. Shiloh, who had been draped over the sofa, perked up. That sounds good. We don't have anything like that in the house, and I don't have any money. Oh, let me check if I have any. Shiloh rummaged in his backpack and proudly produced an assortment of coins plus one stray button. You set the button aside and counted the coins in neat piles. Just over $1. You announced this to Shiloh. He had almost certainly come to the same conclusion, but he'd been watching you expectantly. It's a start. Shiloh yeah, I have no reason to discount people. If that's all you got, bro, it's a start. I don't know how much an ice cream sandwich costs in this universe. We'll find some more. Okay? The two of you lifted couch cushions, stuck tiny hands down deep crevices in the sofa and under furniture, and scrounged the back of drawers. Most of what you found was useless or gross. Bent paper clips, fluffy wisps of dust, or sandy crumbs, but every so often one of you would strike silver or bronze and add it to the growing pile of coins. Dusty and disheveled from checking every room and squinting into every tiny nook, the two of you finished pooling your finds. Shiloh held his breath as you counted the coins once again. $2.53, and 2 buttons. We found 2 doll eyes. Wonderful. You didn't know when the second button had decided to join the party, but you were too pleased with your successful haul to throw it out. Is that enough? You figured he knew the answer without looking to you for confirmation, but the thrill of your success and the reward that would follow canceled any other feelings you might have had about that. Yeah. You could now afford something at the shops, just one thing, but that was infinitely better than none. Shiloh clapped his hands. Yay! The two of you dashed outside. The promise of sugar buoyed you to your destination, where, breathless but happy, you stared at the overwhelming number of options. You knew what you wanted, but it wasn't just you who had contributed the funds to get the treat. He seemed to notice your pause. Aren't you getting an ice cream sandwich? Shiloh asked as though he was entirely separate from the decision, rather than someone with a stake in the outcome. Do you mind? Shiloh cocked his head to the side. It was your idea. You should choose. What? Okay, really quick tangent on this. This is supposed to be like a little love story concerning you, the main character, and Cove, and we've deviated from that hardcore to talk to Shiloh for the day, which I'm not opposed to, but also all I could think of is, Cove, you just moved here. What the fuck are you doing today that I'm stuck with Shiloh? No shame on Shiloh, it's just, what are you doing? But also, yeah, we're gonna get something we both want, because I feel like we can find something realistically to split. It wasn't fair to you to be the only one who decided when he'd been a main factor in making this happen. Some of the money came directly from his $1 and some change for this $2.50 debacle came from him. He literally contributed half. What do you like? All of them, they're so good. You pressed further. But what do you really like? Popsicles or ice creams? Which is your favorite? It's so hard to pick, I don't know. Dude. Frustrated, you get to the heart of the matter. You want me to choose? Yeah. And that was that. You got the dessert you wanted originally and hoped Shiloh would actually like it too. Finally, the reward for all your hard work was in your hands. You bit the ice cream sandwich. The chewy chocolate biscuit complemented the creamy vanilla ice cream inside. You let out to Shiloh so you could take a turn, but he shook his head. Shiloh! Oh my god! Dude, please. I feel like an asshole right now. Take a bite of the damn sandwich. He didn't want any after everything he did to help get it? That was weird. Please. Even if Shiloh said it was okay, every story you'd ever seen on TV or read in a book said that sharing was caring. You stood your ground even as the treat started to trickle dangerously towards your fingers. It's only fair you have some. We both bought it. Oh my god. Shiloh, please. But you want it more than I do, and getting to play was a lot of fun already, so you can have it. That's more fair. You held it out to him. I want you to have even more than I want to finish it, so eat your part. Relenting, Shiloh took the treat and gave it a taste. His eyes lit up. It's really good, thank you. You smiled, pleased with your good deed. You picked the best one. Did he mean that? Yeah. Shiloh, do you mean that, or are you just like an epic people pleaser? Shiloh's always nice no matter what happened. Even if he hated it, you knew he wouldn't say so. This sounds like he's an epic people pleaser though, dude. Maybe he thought it was gross, and that's the real reason why he didn't want to take some. You had no idea. You studied him as he ate a little more. He had every appearance of enjoying himself. Still weird. The two of you began to head back home as he ate. You walked side by side on the shore in silence, but your thoughts kept drifting to the boy beside you. Why didn't he speak up for himself? It was almost as if Shiloh didn't know how to say what he felt or was too afraid to. You figured that was his problem and didn't care. Are you scared of me? You thought that was kind of sad? Are we friends? Okay. If I'm thinking back on this correctly, Lizzie is the oldest and a double-digit age. So let's be really generous and put her at like 10 and say we're 8 or 9. Actually, we are 8 because that is canonically the age they said in the beginning. And Shiloh is like in that weird middle stage where he's almost 10, so that makes him 9. Realistically, we could be friends, but we're not, I think, friends. I think we're just acquaintances. No, are we friends? I feel like I want to know. Shiloh opened his eyes wide, seemingly caught off guard by the blunt question. Yeah, I think so. He says that, but friends should be able to talk to each other without being scared. If Shiloh wouldn't do that, were you even really friends at all? He rubbed his hands together nervously over your non-reaction. Shiloh, please, stop saying I'm sorry. You're making me nervous. You weren't sure how sorry he could be without knowing what he's even apologizing for, but you shook your head. You didn't do anything. It was true, Shiloh hadn't done something mean. He'd gone out of his way to make you happy. That didn't seem like it should be a bad thing, yet it bothered you. I just don't know if you like me. It's like it doesn't matter what I do, you're gonna act the same. I could be anybody and you wouldn't care. No, I like you. I really, really like you, Ella. I want to be friends. Oh, fucking good. Okay. You smiled hesitantly at him, and his fidgeting ceased. Even though you weren't sure if you believed him, this was only making things worse. Yeah, I feel like this conversation is heading down the genocide route real fast. You decided that maybe there were all types of friends. If Shiloh wasn't able to do things differently, this would have to be alright. Shiloh made you unsure about setting a label on the experience of spending the afternoon with just him. There had been good times and there had been confusing ones. The reason why there was that long pause is because I read ahead and I was very confused on that sentence, and I was just like, you know what, it's a story, let's just read and get to the part where we get a conclusion. You were positive of one thing at least, the treat was delicious and that was nice. The sun was low on the horizon as you returned to your neighborhood. There you spotted two very familiar figures up ahead, Lizzie and Cove. Oh no, they're always arguing with each other. You opened your mouth to make your presence known to them just as you saw the tears on Cove's face. Damn it, Lizzie! You walked straight over, Shiloh at your heels. Once there, you take a moment to make a joke, accuse Lizzie of Yeah, what happened? Without a time machine, the only way you were going to find out was by asking the witnesses. Lizzie might have done something, but she could have been in the wrong place at the wrong time or even come to Cove's aid if you wanted to hear the story. Cove, what happened? I got yelled at. He took a deep, steadying breath. Some grandparents got mad at me. Oh, sorry. Lizzie jerked her head in the direction of a nearby house. Your heart sunk. You knew exactly what had happened. Every year, the same mean old couple rented out the condo. For the summer, you, Lizzie, and Shiloh knew to stay away from them, but Cove couldn't have. Yeah, Cove just moved here, so Cove couldn't have known that there are some houses you just straight up avoid. They're like that with everyone. Even your mom struggled to find anything nice to say about them, but the elderly pair practically took offense to kids. It didn't matter if they were really nice, like Cove. Yeah, Lizzie said. Lizzie drew herself up at that. She looked pointedly in your direction. I was helping. I wasn't accusing you of anything. Chill out. That's cool. Is there anything I could do? No. I'm just gonna stay away. Or you could teach them a lesson. Lizzie, please. There was a devilish glint in her eyes. Cove, what? Cove is the only person that ever makes sense. Just constant questions of what? You could ding-dong ditch them, go ring the doorbell and run. It'll be great because they're so slow. They'll never catch you. That's dumb. I don't want to go near them ever again.
You're just saying that because you're a chicken.
There's voice acting in this too, and I don't know if the recorder is catching it, but it's weird sometimes because it just suddenly happens. Cove glared but didn't take the bait. Lizzie turned to you. You're not a chicken, are you? Yes, I've never ding-dong ditched anybody. Yeah, cluck cluck. She can't tease you about being a chicken if you are, in fact, a chicken hunched over. Hunched over, folding your arms to form wings and bat them and down. No, I did that a little bit too bad. For once, your sister seemed at a loss, but didn't take long for her to regain her usual confidence. So you admit it. You continue to flap your arm wings as you circle your sister, clucking all the while. There's no shame in a chicken being a chicken.
Yeah.
You're a chicken. Things are not going the way Lizzie expected. She fought against a laugh and looked for a way to restore her serious authority. What authority? You're like 11. You and Cove are both little chickens. Cove folded his arms, though the one with the cast wasn't as tightly tucked down, and joined you in cheeping around. It was hard to cluck through the giggles that rose up when you saw him imitating a chicken, but you still both gave a first-class performance. You're kids. You don't know anything about first-class performances. The door to the old couple's condo flung open to reveal one of the culprits behind Cove's tears. You froze. Wings raised. Can't you let anyone have a bit of peace and quiet? He must not be a fan of theater or farm animals as well as kids. That was the only explanation for his outburst, which was far louder than anything you and Cove had done. Go on, beat it. Go on, Geet! It was distinctly unfair, but Cove's lips were trembling and you thought it would be best to heed his command. Lizzie took off with Shiloh immediately trailing after without as much as a glance back in your direction. So much for your friendship. You waved your arm at Cove, summoning him to follow you, and ran after Lizzie. The old man's hollers propelled you all from the streets to the sanctity of the hill. Once you were safe, did you notice the stitch in your chest and the ache of your legs? You flopped down, the blades of grass tickling your face. Lizzie, who had taken the lead in the end, was already lazing on the ground. The four of you took a moment to catch your breath and enjoy the feeling of cool grass against your skin. Hey, Cove. Cove lifted his head. I told you there were mean grandparents around here. Cove rolled his eyes, then decided this wasn't dismissive enough and rolled his whole body away from your sister. Oh my god. Okay. Even though this is one of those romance shits, whoever wrote this obviously understood little kid body language really good, and I'm all here for it. Great writing. 10 out of 10. Sorry, I'm very sleepy right now. Lizzie. Whew, that was a yawn. Sorry. Like I said, sleepy. Lizzie chose to ignore his response and started chatting to Shiloh, who eagerly joined in on the conversation. In the back of your mind, you knew you'd be second fiddle again to Shiloh once Lizzie came around. It always went like that. And it was fine. You still felt a little sad after how much time you spent together today, and no, it's fine. Shiloh would prefer Lizzie as much as he wanted to. There were other things to attend to anyway. You wiggled closer to Clove. He had calmed down for the most part and was expecting a flower. His fingers pinched the stem and tilted the white petals toward him. That's a poppy. Cove glanced at you in acknowledgement, then back to the flower. And the type of poppies on this hill have the name white linen poppy, Mom told me. Really? You know what? I'll give it to you. I always assumed poppies were red. I guess there's different kinds of it, and now because you're on a hill that has poppies on them, all I could think of is that Hayao Miyazaki movie, Up on Poppy Hill. Great movie, but Hayao Miyazaki makes all kinds of great movies. I am distracting myself. He quirked a smile. That's funny. He ran a finger around the edge of the petals. It doesn't feel like cloth. You need a lot of them to make anything. He nodded and released the delicate plant, evaluation complete. This is my favorite kind of flower, but I didn't know what it was called. Thanks. Oh my god, there's so many choices. It's mine too. I like roses. Buttercups are really great. My favorite is snapdragons. Hibiscuses are the best. Peonies are pretty. I love sunflowers. I'd pick tulips. Orchids are the most special. Type your own answer. I like all flowers. I don't care about violets. I only know the name what my mom tells me. Okay. We're gonna go through all of these. It's mine too. I know poppy plants are some people's. I've just always associated them with like poppy seeds that you could put on like bagels and stuff. I don't particularly like roses because I think they smell weird. I think they smell like pee. That's a personal thing. I don't know what a buttercup even looks like. I've heard they're yellow, but I don't know. I've seen snapdragons. They look cool, but I've never smelled them. My mother had hibiscuses, and they grew really big. Also, box turtles eat hibiscuses, or at least my box turtle eats hibiscus. Peonies, all I know from peonies are that, like, soundbite. Those aren't peonies. I might not know my flowers, but I know a bitch when I see one. I IRL love sunflowers just because they're considered weeds, but they're really not. Tulips, we planted tulips once when I was younger, me and my mom. I wish I could remember if they turned out good. Orchids, I know, are very hard to raise is because they're hothouse plants, which means they have to have a certain temperature or they just don't like stuff. I don't want to type my own answer because I don't know any other plants. I own cactus. I've got cactus plants. The most non-aggressive water plant. I like all flowers. I don't care. You know what? Actually, we're just gonna go with my real one. I love sunflowers. Yeah, those are nice too. They're bright and awesome. You match with them. Aw, thanks. You moved onto your back with a small smile and looked at the darkening sky. The blanket of clouds reminded you of a thick throw you curled under on the cold, rainy days. You wondered if the clouds would be soft. They lazily floated on by, splitting from each other, merging and morphing into new shapes. You saw a dolphin, you saw a car, you saw an alpaca, you saw a smiley face, you saw... This is so random. You saw an alpaca? What? I'm gonna pick that one. You saw a fluffy alpaca in the sky. You nudged Cove and pointed to it. Can you see the alpaca? Cove joining you and gazing skywards. It's more like a llama. Hey. He chuckled at your reaction. All the sun's light faded from the sky and the moon rose higher. Lizzie got to her feet, dusting strands of grass from her bare legs and surveying her surroundings. The ocean, visible from the crest of the hill, beckoned with every sweep of the tide. Seriously, who's ever writing for this? Amazing writing. I like it so far. Let's go to the beach. It's the middle of the night. There was no argument from the other two. Shiloh was still Shiloh, and Cove would never say no to going to the shore. He was a child of the sea. You wanted to go there too. We're too tired to argue. We're happy to do what the others wanted. Okay. Realistically, as an adult, even if I were to go to an ocean setting at night, I would still be cautious because visibility would be low. And if I am not a strong swimmer, I have a very high chance of getting hurt there. These are children, and I feel like, yeah, childhood wonderment and all that, but maybe no? I think it's because I was just so overly cautious as a kid. Object to the plan. I don't want to. Tough, it's 3 against 1. It was my good idea. Sighing, you trudged after the others. Oh no, I feel like this is gonna end in tragedy. You stepped onto the sand for the second time that day, but it felt different at night. The beach was nearly quiet at this hour. Abandoned sand castles and footsteps in the sand, too big to belong to any of you, were the only indication of how busy it had been only hours earlier. The 4 of you kicked shoes off and removed socks and walked along the water's edge. The waves tickled your feet. I wonder what would happen if you tried to take a bath in the ocean with shampoo and everything. People have tried that, Lizzie. It doesn't end well. That would be bad for the fish. That too, thanks, Cove. I didn't say anyone would do it. Geez, you don't have to be serious about everything. You're the one who asked what would happen. That is what would happen. It hurt the fishes. I like bubble baths at home. They're a lot of fun. Same, Shiloh. Same. Me too. Bubble baths are luxurious. You'd never heard Lizzie use that word before. Mommy loves to have bubbles in her bath. She'll turn the lights off and have candles. I'm gonna do that next time. Hey, when's your mom coming to pick you up anyway? Not for a while. She's busy. Shiloh, do your parents even care where the fuck you are all the time? What about your dad? How come you never talk about him? Nobody does. Don't you know you're not supposed to ask something like that? Why would somebody want to talk about something they never talk about? You kept your eyes on the ground, watching your toes get swallowed by waves. Even if Shiloh never seemed upset that when this topic came up, it made you feel awkward just for having both of your moms. It's okay. I'm like Lizzie and Hella. I don't have a dad, but I don't have 2 moms. I just have one. She's really great. Oh, sorry, I only have one now, too. My mom isn't here. She's back home. It's just my dad with me. I never had a dad or anything, so I didn't feel bad. It's really sad that your mom is gone. Cove nodded. Okay. Shiloh has only the one mom, and Cove only has one dad. Supposedly, both of their mothers are missing from this equation for different reasons. Even if they're all Even if they're all different, our parents are good in their own ways. You joked about Shiloh's mom getting together with Cove's dad. You didn't say anything. Okay. That wouldn't solve a problem, because if Cove's father is only very recently divorced from his wife, it might not go good. Or if his wife is very recently passed. But this seems like a really good, childhood wisdom thing. Thanks, Shiloh. Cove couldn't muster a response. You don't think he truly disagreed, though. The silence broke with a splash as Lizzie kicked in your direction. Cold water and odd sand splattered against your legs. Lizzie giggled, foot still outstretched from the kick. Cove joined in, striking the incoming waves to make a splash of his own. Shiloh scurried out of Cove's spray zone with a grin. Yeah, no, we're gonna retaliate. Oh god, I hope this doesn't end in tragedy, dude. Like, I hope this is not some dark moment. You used your foot to smack the water pulling around you, sending an arc of sea foam flying back onto your sister. You laughed as she spluttered, some of the salty seawater having landed in her mouth. She spat it out. Ooh, ocean water tastes gross. Yuck. Lizzie chased you, intent on revenge. You dashed up and down the coast, taking it in turns to be the predator and the prey, as well as joining forces to take down Shiloh or Cove. Alliances were silently forged and wordlessly broken. Everything was fair game in war. Shiloh's brief explanation was drowned out by the biggest splash yet, caused by him falling face first onto the ground. That would have been bad enough without the wave that followed, cascading over his prone body. Oh my god, please don't turn dark. Shiloh sat up. Shiloh sat up, shaking his head like a dog, coming in from the rain as you all hurried over to check on him. His hair was plastered to his head and his soaked clothes clung. If there was any part of him that was still dry, you couldn't see it. That was crazy. Are you okay? Yeah, my foot got stuck and I fell over. Way to go, Shiloh, you Dumbo. You offered him some help up. Shiloh didn't take your outstretched hand. After a moment, you dropped it. Lizzie was too busy snickering to notice and held her hand out to Shiloh, too. He reached over and took it. Slowly, he started to pull himself from the ground. Then he slipped on the slick sand, dragging him and Lizzie down just in time for another wave to hit. The water rolled over them.
Sorry.
What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? I mean, the ocean just beats constantly. It doesn't give a fuck. That's how some people end up drowning. What were the odds of that happening twice in a row? You thought they must be low, but there's no way Shiloh would do something like that on purpose, then pretend it was an accident, especially not to Lizzie. Even if your relationship with Shiloh felt unclear, he did at least like her a lot. Lizzie was his favorite, right? Smiling boldly, Lizzie extracted herself from the ground and wiped a streak of sand from her cheek. She didn't intend to let this embarrass her. You know what? As much as I have not spent a lot of time with my sister Lizzie in this, I can appreciate the fact that she is just so steady in her conviction and she doesn't falter from it. I can appreciate that. Shiloh got up again as well, this time without incident. He still looked like a drowned puppy, but that didn't stop Cove laughing at the two of them. With that, it was time to call it a day. The four of you drudgingly made your way back home, leaving a trail of wet footsteps and sand in your wake as damp clothes weighed the group down. Your moms were outside, chatting to Cove's dad. We're back. Your mom's faces fell as they took in the state you were all in, ranging from messy to soaked. Elizabeth, is that all you have to say for yourself? You brought half the beach bag with you. They certainly did. What's Marigold going to do when she comes to get Shiloh? Is that how you want him to be for the long drive home, cold and filthy? Lizzie's expression turned sulky over the scolding. Being the oldest could be fun, but it also meant she was the first to get in trouble when something went wrong. Mr. Holden, on the other hand, chuckled as he rubbed Cove's small matted hair. You been out making memories, bucko. I'm glad you had a good time with your friends. Cove used his slightly moist cast arm to push his dad off. Mr. Holden's eyes widened when he noticed even that had gotten wet. Now he was worried, too. I think that they could have found a less risky way to spend time and had just as much fun. That might be right. Kids, what can you do? Come on, go. Let's get you cleaned up and dried off. We wouldn't want that cast to be reset. As somebody who did break their arm as a kid, I asked, why does my cast have to be kept dry? And they were like, the plaster can be made too wet and it'll come undone, which means your arm might not heal right because the cast isn't holding the bone steady. That's why the cast is there. Cove winced at the thought. Okay. That a boy. Dude, I don't think I've ever heard this guy not call him boy or a kiddo. Are you, like, just a really young man who's suddenly a father of an 8-year-old? Mr. Olsen casually bent down and picked Cove up off the ground, ultimately holding Cove against his chest. Sand was already transferring from Cove onto him, but that didn't seem to bother Mr. Holden. Cove protested being carried, but only got a reassuring pat on the back for his trouble. Good night, Cove. Thank you for the talk, Cliff. Good night, Vitrum family, and Shiloh too. Resigned to his fate, Cove twisted his body in his dad's arm in order to turn around and wave goodbye. You beamed as you reached upward and waved your hand in the air. Night? Well, you'd better do what we can to fix you guys up too. Come on, everybody inside. I want you to march straight to the downstairs bathroom. Yes, Mom. Okay, Lizzie's mom. Don't worry about stopping to wipe your feet on the mat this time. That won't do much good for tonight. Yeah, if we're that soaked, what does me wiping my feet on the doormat gonna do, realistically? Sitting on an old beach towel your mommy had found, you waited in the hall. Until you were less sandy, you weren't allowed to go to your room or walk around the house. But you did get to eat a sandwich for dinner there. It felt like an indoor picnic. It had been decided that Shiloh would wash first and borrow some of your clothes. He was already finished and packed away in his mom's car. Miss Fields had come to collect him a little while ago. It was a bit of a funny experience seeing him without that hat for once. Lizzie, being much more soaked than you, got to go in the tub next. It wasn't a bubble bath as she had hoped. It was a no fun allowed cleanup session. At least that's what she claimed. Not much longer and it would be your turn. When the bath was done, you'd have to go right to bed. After a day like this, though, you were glad you weren't going to be any further event. I can talk. You were glad there weren't going to be any further events. Drifting off to sleep sounded like a great idea. Alright, we're done with Long Day. And then we're gonna go to Sandcastle. And then that'll finish up this section of the summer. And once we're done with Sandcastle, we'll click And Summer Ended and go from there. We'll probably replay this to get all the DLCs. But until then, we're just gonna stick to the main immediate story and go from there. With that said, I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Bye.